So the Yom Tov of Shavuos is different from Sukkot and Pesach. The fact that it doesn't have three Chol. Now, one of the usefulnesses of Chol Hamoed that when people came to the Beis Hamikdash for the 3 foot festivals, everyone that came had to bring a minimum of 2 korbanos. Korban Chagiga, which was a peace offering, a korban shlamim, which the bulk of the meat of the korban was eaten by the people that brought it and the guests. And there was also an Eilos Re'iyah, burnt offering, which was brought to fulfill the mitzvah of the Yero, Kwanei Reicham, and sitting empty-handed without a gift. You have to bring a korban Eilos. So on Pesach and Sukkot, if for whatever reason the korban wasn't brought on the Yom Tov, it was brought Chol Hamoed. But Shavuos has no Chol Hamoed. But we learn from a pasuk that Shabbat, Hagamatzah, but just like Pesach, there's 7 days of abundance, so Shavuos is also 7 days. That's why the Alter Rebbe writes in the Siddur that we don't say Tashkent until the 12th of Sivan, because these are the days of Tashlumin, the days that we can still make up for the offerings that we were supposed to bring on Shavuos, and we didn't bring. We can still bring 7 days, just like Pesach. On a basic level, this whole din of Tashlumin only applies in time of the Beis Hamikdash. We have no korban. We don't bring korbanos today, and Yom Tov is only the 2 days of Shavuos. So as far as we're concerned, Shavuos is over. It's over. There's no continuation. However, since the Alter Rebbe writes in the Siddur that if we follow the Minhag Sfar, not to say Tachnim until the 12th of Sivan, until after the 12th of Sivan, because of the days of Tashlumin. So we know that the days of Tashlumin have a significance and they're meaningful to us as well. What way are they meaningful to us? So we discussed the fact that Matan Torah doesn't only mean that 3,000 Zman Matan Torah saying it doesn't only mean that 3,336 years ago the Torah was given. It means the Torah is given every year on this day. Man Matan Torah saying is the time that the Torah is being given now, anew, from Hashem himself to every single Jew. And it's being given with greater strength and greater vigor than ever before. Not just a repeat performance, but it's an upgrade on whatever happened. The way that it's never been such an intense Matan Torah experience before as there is this year. Now, in order to fully absorb that energy, one has to be focused, one has to be involved. What if one feels that one's involvement there was room for more involvement, there was room for greater presence? So you have days of Tashlumin, you have days to make up for it. 7 days of Tashlumin, you can still upgrade, you can still fill in on whatever was missing during the Yom Tov Zman Matan Torah saying. And the word Tashlumin doesn't only mean to make up for what was missing, but also can mean to improve and to upgrade. Even if nothing was missing, if everything was done perfectly on the Yom Tov of Shavuos, you have another 5 days in which each day you can upgrade your involvement in the Baha'alotcha Torah greater and greater than before. Now, according to some customs, days of Tashlumin conclude on the 13th. The reason for that is because if you count and say that it's 2 days Yom Tov because it's fake, 2 days Yom Tov is because it's doubtful which day is the correct day. Is the correct day of Yom Tov the first day of Yom Tov, or is the correct day of Yom Tov the second day of Yom Tov? Time of the Sanhedrin fixed the month according to the witnesses. Not everybody knew exactly when the Shtadesh was fixed, so therefore they kept 2 days Yom Tov. And we keep Minhag Avosenu B'Yadeinu, to follow the custom of our forefathers. We also keep 2 days Yom Tov. So the 2 days Yom Tov essentially are based on the principle of fake and the Yom. It's a doubt which day is the correct day. So if we start counting from the second day of Shavuos, then the 7 days end today. Today is the 7th day from the second day of Shavuos. The second day of Shavuos was on a Thursday. So today, Wednesday, is the 7th day, counting from the second day of Shavuos. The Alter Rebbe in the Siddur Paskins that we only refrain from saying Tachlim until the 12th of Sivan. But there are other customs that don't say Tachlim until the 13th of Sivan. So the 13th of Sivan also still has, to some extent, the spirit of Shavuos continues on a certain measured level, also on the 13th of Sivan. And one could still chaparayim at some level to absorb the energies that are offered to us. Now, this week's Seder of Beha'alotcha, one of the subjects that are covered in this week's Seder is the month. What's about the man? So the Gemara in Yuma discusses some of the psukim in this week's Seder about the man, and brings to our attention some apparent contradiction. The Gemara brings a pasuk in this week's Seder which says, when the dew descended upon the camp, the man came down on top of the dew. So that is implying, where did the man fall? Al hamachna, on the camp. It fell in the camp itself. However, there's a pasuk in Parshas Beha'alotcha which says, the yotza ha'am. You have to go out of the camp in order to collect the man. So the first pasuk implies that the man fell in the camp, and the second pasuk implies that the man fell outside the camp. Then there's a third pasuk which says shatu ha'am, this week's Seder, which says shatu ha'am, that they have to scroll a significant distance in order to collect them. But not only do they have to leave the camp, but they have to go some distance from the camp to collect them. So there's a three-way contradiction. One pasuk implies that the man fell in the camp. One pasuk implies that the man fell just outside the camp, and one pasuk implies that it fell at a distance from the camp. So how do we reconcile these three psukim? So the Gemara says, how do you reconcile these? Tzadikim yarad al pesach b'pei. Tzadikim, for tzadikim, the man fell by the door of their houses. So in the camp, right outside their door, found the man. Beinanim yatzu v'laktu. The Beinanim had to go out of the camp to collect the man. And Rishayim shatu v'laktu. The wicked had to go a distance from the camp to collect the man. Then the Gemara continues and says, there's another three-way contradiction. Siv lechem. In Parshas Beha'alotcha it says, Hineni mamtir lechem, lechem in Hashem. Hashem says, behold, I will rain down upon you bread from heaven. So the man is referred to as bread, which implies that it came down ready-made. All you have to do is bite into it. It's ready to go. Uksiv ugas. And there's another pasuk that describes the man as cakes, which implies cakes of dough that still need to be baked. So it wasn't ready to go. You had to first bake it. Only then you could eat it. Uksiv v'tachnu. And in the third pasuk it says that they had to grind it in millstones or crush it in a crusher, and only then could they do something with it. Which means it came down in the form of grains or seeds. It needed to be ground and crushed, made into a flour, made into a dough, baked, and then they had bread. So there's again a three-way machlekes, a three-way contradiction, a three-way stira, a three-way contradiction in the tzuk. So how do we reconcile all these things? The Gemara says tzadikim lechem. For tzadikim, it came down in the form of ready-made bread. Beinanim ugos, for the average person, it came down in the form of cakes which needed to be baked. And Rishayim tachnu b'reichayim aydachu b'amdoicha, and the wicked have to grind it and crush it and make flour out of it and make dough out of it and bake it, and only that they have to. So the man came down in one form righteous, in one form for Beinanim, and in one form for the Rishayim. So both as far as the location where the man came down, there was a difference, and also in the form that it came down. This is the Gemara. Now, all this appears a bit puzzling, based on what we know that the man was lechem min hashamayim. It was bread from heaven. When we eat, we make a bracha baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu habayitzi lechem min haaretz. And Hashem brings out bread from the earth, because the bread that we eat grows from the earth. Wheat grows from the earth, and we take the kernels out of the wheat, and we grind them into flour, and we make the dough, and we finally bake them into bread. So we make a bracha habayitzi lechem min haaretz. When the Jewish people ate the man in the midbar, what bracha did they make? So it says in Rishonim, Rabbi Panu says that they made a bracha baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu. Hashem brings out bread from heaven, because the man fell from heaven. So this idea of the man being lechem in hashamayim, bread from heaven, has many aspects to it. One of the things we know was that the man was completely nutrients. It was 100% nutrients. There was no refuse at all. When we eat bread, so the bread contains nutrients, and when we digest it, our digestive system separates the nutrients And whatever is not turned into nutrient, whatever is not turned into digested and becomes part of us to assist us, strengthen us, is rejected and it comes out through as refuge. But by the man, there was no refuge. Everything was perfect. So they didn't need to be excused. They ate and everything was absorbed. What's the reason for this? The reason for this is because the food that we eat is lechem min haaretz. It's food from the earth. It involves man's effort. Man has to plow and sow and harvest and winnow and grind and knead, bake, and only then do you get bread. So since man is imperfect, so the efforts of man produce an imperfect product. And it's imperfect in the sense that some of it is nutritious, and some of it is rejected. But the man came directly from Hashem. And Hashem is perfect. So everything that comes from Hashem is perfect. So therefore, the man didn't have any refuge. It was completely neutral. Because it's lechem and Hashem. Also, as far as it says, Pasuk quoted before, when the dew came down upon the camp, the man descended upon the dew. And why is man associated with dew? So it's that dew and rain are both forms of both irrigate the atmosphere and the earth, but there's an essential difference. That is that dew comes regularly, never stops. Rain, sometimes it rains, sometimes it doesn't rain. In fact, it says that when you daven in the winter, you say the same palu malta lupa. So if by mistake you missed out asking for dew, you don't have to daven over. Because dew doesn't really need us to daven. The dew will come anyway. But the rain, sometimes it rains, sometimes it doesn't rain. You have to pray for rain. So the same matar is a requirement. The person in the winter didn't say the same matar. He has to daven over. But tal is not a requirement to daven for. Because tal loy me'etzer, the Gemara says. Tal, dew is never with them. What does that represent in Ruchnis and what it represents on a spiritual level is that tal, dew, which always comes, represents an isarusa de la'ela, an arousal from below, an arousal from above, that comes automatically on its own. It doesn't need us to elicit it. And therefore, it's not dependent on our input. It just comes. That represents an isarusa de la'ela b'tzaratzman. It's a arousal from above. It comes on its own. And because it comes on its own, it comes from Hashem, it's perfect. Rain, on the other hand, represents an arousal from above, which is elicited by an arousal from below. Physically, the way how does rain happen? You have water here on earth. The water evaporates, forms clouds. And the clouds cause precipitation. So it goes up and then it comes down. Also spiritually, if you will hearken to my commandments that I command this day, then I will give the rain of your land in its proper time, the early rains, late rains, you will gather your produce. And Dr. Shalom, if you don't serve Hashem properly, if you don't earn your keep, then Hashem will withhold the heavens and it won't be rain. So when you follow my statutes, then your rain will come in its proper time. So rain is something that we have to earn through our efforts, and Hashem gives it. So that's the idea of Bisalusa de l'Tata, Bisalusa de l'Egon, arousal from below, elicits an arousal. So lechem min haaretz, bread from the earth, represents something that we have to put an input in. We said before, physically, we have to plow, we have to sow, we have to reap, harvest, winnow, grind, and knead and then bake, and then we have what to eat. Lechem and Hashemayim is something which comes completely from Hashem. It's a gift from Hashem, like the dew, and that's why it came with the dew, because it wasn't something that was dependent on our efforts. The man just came, ready or not, here I come. So that being the case, that man represents an arousal from above that is not dependent on our service of Hashem. And as just like the dew does, as opposed to rain, which represents an arousal from above, which is elicited from above. That makes the question very difficult to work out. Why then is there a difference between the way tzaddikim got the mark, Beinanim and Rishonim? Everybody should have gotten it the same way, because this is lechem min hashamayim. This is bread from heaven. This is a gift coming from heaven on heavenly terms. It's got nothing to do with whether we have deserved it or not, whether we have elicited it properly or not. So why should there be any difference whether the person who is getting them on, is it tzaddik or a bein or a rasha? It goes against the whole ethos of what man is all about. Man is all about a gift from heaven that is not dependent on our avodah, like the dew. And that makes this Gemara that differentiates between the way the man came down to tzaddik, the way the man came to Beinanim, and the way the man came to Rishonim, a little difficult to swallow. So in order to find the answer to this question, we have to ask ourselves another question. That is, what was the point of the month? Of course, it was to sustain us. Why did Hashem want to sustain us specifically in this way? So the Pasuk says that the point of the mon was to test our faith. What way did the mon test our faith? Mon was actually provided. It's a tremendous provision. The mon was fantastic. It fell every morning, tasted like anything you wanted it to taste like. You didn't have to plow, you didn't have to sow. It was fantastic. It had one shortcut, very, very challenging. That is, it was var yoim b'yoim. Every day you got only that day's food. So you went to bed at night with an empty fridge, completely empty. And you have to have full trust. And when you get up in the morning, Hashem will perform the same miracle again. And you're going to find outside your tent or outside the camp, you're going to find man again miraculously having fallen from. So it's practicing the act of faith, trust. You have to know you put full trust in Hashem. Going to sleep tonight, according to the rules of nature, I don't stand a chance to be able to survive tomorrow's day. But I'm relying on Hashem, who's going to miraculously provide. And for 40 years, they practiced this exercise. What was the purpose of this exercise? The purpose of this exercise was that when they come to the settled Eretz Neshama, land of Eretz, and over there, the rules are going to change. Over there, it's going to be Kisavayu el Haaretz, when you come to the land, and Sheish Shanim Tizra Sadecha, for 6 years you should sow your field, Sheish Shanim Tizra Kamecha, and 6 years you should prune your vineyard, and you're going to have to put on your dungarees, go out into the field and work. So then also you should retain your faith and your trust in Hashem and know that the real blessing comes only from Hashem. As the Pasuk says, the Almighty your God will bless you in all that you will do. Meaning you need to do, but it's Hashem's blessing that's going to make it happen. In other words, Hashem is saying to the Jewish people, for 40 years I provided. I gave you the man every morning, without fail. Shabbos, when it didn't come down, it came on Friday. I looked after you. You didn't have to worry, even a drop. Everything was provided. What now that we're moving on to the next stage, and you're entering into the land of Canaan, land of Israel? What's the next problem? What's going to happen now? You think I'm going to forsake you? I'm going to continue to provide for you exactly like I did before. The only thing is the format is going to change. It's not going to come down from heaven. It's going to come down enclosed in your efforts. Hashem, your God, will bless you, and all that you will do. So the Sifri says on the pasuk, I might think that you should sit with your hands folded and do nothing. Hashem is going to bless you. I might think you don't have to do anything. So the pasuk says further, in all that you will do, which of course tells you have to do. Why would I think you won't have to do anything? because that's the way it worked with the man. And if the man is continuing, Hashem's blessing is going to stay with you. And just like by the man, he didn't have to do anything, it just came down. So you're thinking it'll continue that way. Hashem says, you're right, it's going to continue that way, but one little detail is going to change. You're going to have to make some kind of a vessel according to the rules of nature in which it's going to be contained. But it's not changing it's not changing the end, it's not changing the life, the energy, the provision is not changing. It's only the container in which the provision is being offered is changing. You're going to have to adjust yourself in the sense that you're going to have to make a keli b'derech hateva, you have to have a vessel according to the rules of nature for Hashem's blessing. So the idea of this bitachon that we were practicing for 40 years, be able to go to sleep with an empty fridge and have absolute faith that tomorrow morning the money is going to be right outside my door, wherever it needs to be, and Hashem is not going to let me down. To be able to maintain that faith, even in the setting where Hashem will bless you within what you will do. So you're going to go out into the field, put on your dungarees, and plow and sow and harvest and winnow and grind and bake. And you have to know at the end of the day, why do you have bread on your table? Not because you worked hard. Your hard work is a waste of time. If Hashem doesn't bless your work, you're not going to get anywhere with it. The reason you have bread on your table and everything else you need is because Hashem provides. The only thing is, this provision comes enclosed in the Chol Asher Ta'as. This actually explains a difficult question. We know, we say Birchas HaMazon. Birchas HaMazon, benching, we say after. So the first bracha is Hazanas HaKel. Where did the bracha Hazanas HaKel come? So the Gemara tells us, when the man fell in the desert, Moshe Rabbeinu instituted the Jewish people the bracha of Hazon, that they should thank Hashem for sustaining them. And if you look at the words of the bracha, you see it fits. What is the bracha? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech. Blessed are you, Hashem, our God, King of you. Hazon es ha'olam kulei v'tuvei. He sustains the entire world with His goodness. B'chein, b'chesed, b'rachmim. With graciousness, kindness, and with compassion. He provides bread for all flesh. Forever is His heart. Not a word about the earth. Not a word about our efforts. Only Hashem provides. Why? Because this bracha was instituted by Moshe Rabbeinu that we should say for the man. The man, there's no earth to bless Hashem. There's just a gift from Hashem. He's the one who provides bread for us. Then the Yidden came into Eretz Yisrael. And as we said before, when they came into Eretz Yisrael, the rules changed. They had to go to work and earn their keep. And Hashem's blessing came enclosed in their efforts. So Yehoshua instituted for the Jewish people another bracha. Noida lecha. What's noida lecha? Noida lecha Hashem Elokeinu. We thank you, Hashem, al she'ichalta laveseinu, that you bequeathed, that you put over for our forefathers. Eretz chemda toiva lechava, a wonderful, good, and abundant land. Baruch atah Hashem al haaretz v'al hamazon. Blessed are you, Hashem, for the land and for the food that it provides. So here they were thanking Hashem for the lechem min haaretz, for the bread that comes from the earth. Therefore, the text of this bracha is totally different. This bracha, we speak about the land that is producing the food. And we thank Hashem for the land and for the food that it produces. So it follows that the first bracha, Hazan, is for lechem min hashamayim. And the second bracha, Noida lecha, is for lechem min haaretz. So the question is, when we eat today, we eat lechem min haaretz. We eat bread from the earth. In fact, we make a bracha, Baruch Hashem, lechem min haaretz. So why then do we say the first bracha in the benching, we say the bracha of Hazan, which was instituted by Moshe Rabbeinu to thank Hashem for the lechem min hashamayim? We didn't eat lechem min hashamayim, we ate lechem min haaretz. So why are we making a benching? Why are we benching the first bracha, a bracha that is appropriate for lechem min hashamayim? And the answer is, as we just explained, because we are eating lechem min hashamayim. The sustenance that we get is exactly like it was in the desert. It's coming as a gift from Hashem, with a little twist. The Chol Asher Ta'as. I've given you this gift. Rely on me. Don't worry. Don't lose any sleep. But it's coming. The Chol Asher Ta'as. It's going to come enclosed in the result of your efforts. But don't for a minute make the mistake of thinking that it's your efforts that are producing it. It's only Hashem's bracha. And Hashem's bracha comes in a certain context. That's why the first bracha that we make when we finish eating lechem, the bread that we eat, is the bracha on lechem and hashamayim, which is a confirmation of our faith that what we ate was actually bread from heaven. And this is true not only when it comes to food, it's true in all areas of life. It comes to health. A person chas v'shalom is an issue with the health. Go to the doctor. Why? The Torah tells you to go to the doctor. But we don't go to the doctor because we believe that the doctor has the solution. We go to the doctor because the Eibishter is the one that's making it. The Eibishter is the healer. And the Eibishter told us that I'm going to send my cure enclosed in the ways of nature. Therefore, go through the motions of doing it according to the rules of nature. But you want to know who you should rely on? You want to know who you should put your faith in? Put your faith only in the Almighty. The same thing when it comes to security. Who provides security? Who provides safety? Who provides peace? Only Hashem. If Hashem lo yishmar, you hear me saying to him, if Hashem doesn't guard a city, shav shakat shemer, the guard is wasting his time. As we saw, unfortunately, too well, we shouldn't ever see such a thing again. On the other hand, do you need a guard? Should you have an army? Of course you should. Because the Torah says you have to. Because Hashem will bless you in all that you will do. You have to make a cave with the derech HaTeva and hope to Hashem and pray to Hashem that He will provide His security enclosed in the cave that you made with the derech HaTeva. But ultimately, it's all about Hashem on every level, in every area of life. And this we are encouraged and we gain strength from the man and from the test of faith that the man that accompanied the man. That gives us the strength to be able to deal with the test of faith that we have in our lives today. So, since the man was completely lechem and hashtama, completely from heaven, and nothing to do with our efforts whatsoever, and the bread that we eat today, we have to work. So it's hard to make the connection. We're expected to make the connection, but it's challenging. So therefore, the Eibishter made that in certain minimal ways, the one should have a comparability to lechem in haaretz. That there should be some input. It should be affected in some way by our input. In what way? We learned that there's a difference in tzaddikim, beinim, and rishayim. Although everybody got money, and everybody got every day, and everybody got enough. But in the detail of whether it came down right outside their house, or came out the camp, or went a little further away from it, in the detail, whether it came down in the form of bread, or it came down in the form of cakes of dough, or it came down in the form of seeds that had to be ground, there was a difference in tzaddikim, beinim, and rishayim. So there should be some similarity to lechem in haaretz, where our input makes a difference, and that will make it easier for us to make the transition that carry with us that intense faith straight from the man right into our circumstances of lechem in haaretz. We should be able to realize that all the principles that apply to lechem and shamayim apply to us today. Any questions on that? So the question that Mrs. Goldberg is asking for the benefit of people that are watching on the Zoom is whether the bracha was affected by the taste of the food. You know that in the man, whenever they wanted it to taste like, it tasted like. So if it tasted like watermelon, maybe you have to make better pri adama, you said. So I would think, since as far as I know, the only bracha that I came across that we made on the man was lechem and hashem. So I would believe that the taste is not where the food is coming from. Bracha we don't make according to the taste. We make the bracha according to the source of the food. Right? If it comes from a tree, we make better pri ha'etz. If it comes from the ground, we make better pri adama. If it comes from the earth, so this is bread coming from heaven. So therefore, whatever it tasted like, it still was bread from heaven. So they made a bracha. That's what it appears. after 40 years to switch back to living a normal life was a very big adjustment. Right? The month stopped when the question was, when did the month stop? The month stopped when they crossed the Yarden, but they had the month that fell on the last day before they crossed the Yarden was enough to last them until Pesach. Because they couldn't eat from the new produce until the 16th of Nisan. Okay, so the question then, when did the month start? So it says that those that they took out of Mitzrayim, they didn't have time to rise, and that they ate a month's time. So it's 15th of Iyar, a month after Yetzias Mitzrayim is the 16th until the 15th. So, okay, so the question is, by the tzaddikim where it fell outside their tent, they knew exactly how much to take. But people that had to go outside the camp, how do they know what was for them and how much was for them? So it says that as much as they took, when they measured it, it came out exactly an omer per soul. So it didn't make a difference if they took more or they took less. They always ended up having one. So it's a clear passage. By a they measured it with an omer, but they had the kamar, the one who took more ended up having more. They hefsin hamam, the one who took less ended up having less. It was omer lagul beis. For each member of the family, there was a measurement for an omer, which is approximately 43 exile. Where did they get the water from? Where did they get the water from? So there was the Beha'alotcha Miriam, which they call the rock and roll, the rock that rolled. It was the rock of Miriam that rolled with them throughout the desert. And wherever they went, they were able to, the Nesiim would take with their staffs and draw a line in the earth. And from through that line it became like a stream, which the water came from Miriam's well. There's that shape wherever they came. So all their provisions were miraculously provided for. Food from the man, the drinking was from the well of Miriam. The clouds of glory provided them with, they laundered their clothing for them. The clothes were always miraculously freshly laundered by the clouds of glory. And the children, as they grew, their clothing grew. He sees the man by the other person's house. He knows that he's not a tzaddik. If he was a tzaddik, it would be outside his house. How do they know? The tzaddik, the man fell to them by the door of their house. They opened up the door of the house. They saw there was man on the ground. They knew that this is for them. Then they had to go outside the camp, but for them it was available close. And the Rishonim didn't manage to find anything close. They had to go find far. They had to go far. The Eibishter worked it all out. And guess what? He keeps working it all. We have to assume that it was worked out in a way that it would be counterproductive if it was worked out in a way that didn't. I don't think the point was it has to last you. I think it will last because you will eat to your satisfaction every day, and you'll still have left over for the next day. Just like what they had for Friday and Shabbos. They ate what they needed to eat on Friday, and it was always left over for Shabbos. Okay, we're going to move on to Tanya. We started last week the introduction to Shara Yifad, which is on page 150 in the numbers on top of the page. And
283, 284.
283, 284, the numbers on the bottom of the page. Thank you very much, Mr. Son. So we were discussing the fact that the foundation of all the service of Hashem think we were discussing this. I'm not sure exactly where we left off. I believe we were discussing the foundation of all service of Hashem is love and fear. The love of Hashem and the fear of Hashem. Love of Hashem is the foundation of all positive mitzvahs. Because we perform the positive mitzvahs, first of all, because we love Hashem. That leads to inspiring us to fulfill the mitzvahs. Also, when we love Hashem and our love is involved in the fulfillment of the mitzvah, then the mitzvah is called a true performance. True in the sense, the word emes in Hebrew is spelled Aleph, Mem, Sof. Aleph is the first letter of the Aleph base, Mem is the middle letter of the Aleph base, and Sof is the last letter. So Aleph, Mem, Sof means it goes through and through, from the beginning to the middle to the end. It's consistent all the way through. So if a person is going through the motions of doing the mitzvah, but their heart and their mind is not present, then they're fulfilling the mitzvah, but it's not with emes. Emes is that from beginning to end, every fiber of your being is present in the action. When you fulfill the mitzvah with an understanding and feeling, and with the action, if your understanding and feeling permeates the action, that's called a makaimon be'emes. One is truly fulfilling the mitzvah. That is true both by mitzvahs asay, positive mitzvahs. You fulfill the mitzvah with a passion and a devotion. That's called makaimon be'emes. So the foundation and the root of the mitzvah is the love of Hashem. When it comes to a negative mitzvah, you refrain from doing that which is forbidden because of the reverence for the greatness of Hashem. You don't want to, Hashem, sever yourself from Hashem for a moment, and you know that by disobeying Hashem's instructions, you are severing yourself from Hashem. So the reverence of Hashem's greatness is the inspiration, and it is the life that makes the fulfillment of the negative mitzvah, the refraining of doing what is forbidden, it makes it emes. Because it makes it that you're not just going through the motions of refraining from doing what you would like to do, but it's permeated with a feeling and an understanding, so that every fiber of your being is involved. So therefore, we said that the yesod and the shodet, foundation and the root of performance of mitzvahs, is avas Hashem and yiras Hashem. And since the mitzvah of chinuch applies also to mitzvahs asay, we don't only have to educate our children to not do what is forbidden. We also have to educate our children to do what they should do. And the foundation of doing what you should do is avas Hashem, love of Hashem. So therefore, obviously, the mitzvah of chinuch also includes educating in avas Hashem, educating a child in avas Hashem, to love Hashem. So if we need to educate a child in avas Hashem, and when the pasuk says "Chanoich l'nar al pi darkei," educate a lad according to his way, surely including the way we educate someone in avas Hashem, in the love of Hashem. And this will help us understand the question that we asked last year. The pasuk says, educate the child according to his way, which seems to imply that it's not the ultimate way that you would like to achieve in the long run. But the child is only a child, so you have to educate him in a manner that is going to work for him in this stage in his development. But then why do we say Gam ki yazkin lo yasem mimena? Even as he grows older, he won't forsake it. That's not what we want. We want that as he grows older, he should forsake the limitations that we put on his education, and he should grow into a more advanced level of devotion. So why do we, after the words say Gam ki yazkin lo yasem mimena? Just the opposite. We want to be mechanechem al pi darkei, so that little by little, as he grows, he can advance into bigger and better things. So this he began to answer by explaining how chinuch also includes the idea of avas Hashem, and that in avas Hashem there are, generally speaking, in the love of Hashem, there's generally speaking two levels. There is the advanced level of avas Hashem, and there's the basic level of avas Hashem. Now, I'm not sure exactly how far we got. I think we're going to start from in the first column. It's about 6 lines from the bottom. The line begins. The last word on the line is. Yeah, does that sound right?
Say the first column.
The first column. There's 2 columns on the page, right? In the first column, 6 lines from the bottom. The last word on the line is ach. Acha inyan. So the matter is as follows: Yesh shnei minei avas Hashem. There's generally speaking two levels in the love of Hashem. The first level, which is the more advanced level, starting with first, is the expiring of the soul naturally, spontaneously, to its creator. In other words, if a person is in touch with his neshama, to be in touch with your neshama, our neshama is a chelik of a neshama is a part of God. Our neshama is naturally inclined to be passionate about godliness, to be yearning for Hashem, to be longing for Hashem. That's the way a neshama functions. If you're in touch with your neshama, conscious of what's going on in your neshama, then you will spontaneously come to the highest levels of opposition without even having to do anything to make it happen. How do you become in touch with your neshama? Okay, we're going to get to that soon. But if we were in touch with our neshama, that's what we would feel, because that's what the neshama is feeling right now. Problem is that for most of us, it's in our subconsciousness and not in our consciousness. But for tzaddikim who are conscious of it, so they have a spontaneous yearning and longing for Hashem. So that's the first level of Avos Hashem that we're going to talk about. It's the natural, spontaneous expiring of the soul, yearning of the soul naturally to its creator. The intellectual soul overpowers the matter, and it lowers and makes subservient, subdues the matter, the material, underneath the spiritual. Makes the material part of life completely subservient and secondary to the spiritual. Azai tislahe v'tislahe tislahe v'tislahe. The soul becomes flamed up like a spontaneously rising flame. V'tagil v'tismach b'Hashem oisa, and it will rejoice and delight in Hashem its maker. V'tisanag al Hashem, and have delight with Hashem, most wondrous delight. That's the natural state of the neshama. Yearning for Hashem, enjoying being one with Hashem, delighting in Hashem's presence, delighting in an opportunity to study Hashem's Torah, delighting in an opportunity to daven to Hashem, delighting in an opportunity to fulfill a mitzvah, which is the tzavsa of Chibur. It's just like the most incredible thing in the world. Who are those that merit this great, intense level of love? Tzaddikim. They are the people that we refer to as tzaddik. As the pasuk says, we say this every Friday night. Shabbos simchu tzaddikim b'Hashem. The righteous, the tzaddikim, should rejoice with Hashem. They do rejoice with Hashem. So that is the ultimate level of love of Hashem, which actually all of us experience subconsciously. But by tzaddikim who are in touch with their neshama, that's what they feel consciously. However, not every person merits this level on a conscious level. Because in order to feel this, to experience this, one needs to refine one's matter, one's material side. Extremely go through a tremendous exercise of self-refinement. Also, one has to study a tremendous amount of Torah, do a lot of good deeds. Lizkais l'neshama elyona, to merit this higher level of neshama. So l'maylim madregas ruach nefesh, which is higher than the level of ruach nefesh. So we learned that there's three levels of the soul: nefesh, ruach, and neshama. Nefesh is connected to Hashem through action. Ruach is connected to Hashem through emotion. Neshama is connected to Hashem through intellect. So tzaddikim, who reveal the highest level of the neshama, the level of neshama that connects to Hashem intellectually, have deep understanding of the greatness of Hashem. So they are able to experience their neshama. But for most of us, who we're lucky if we become a little bit in touch to the level of ruach, it's unlikely that we will consciously experience this description. So there needs to be a second option, right? What type of love of Hashem is available for ordinary people like us? So the second option is There's a love that everyone is capable of reaching. She is vain and hated by contemplating well the depth of the heart in those matters that arouse the love. Those matters that arouse the love of Hashem in the heart of everything. And that is something that we've spent a lot of time in the first section of Tanya discussing, about the various contemplations that are available to us to help enhance our love of Hashem. So if you try to understand Hein derech klal, both in a general sense, to contemplate on the fact that Hashem is our life. He is the one who provides us with life. He is the essence of our life. Just like it's natural for a person to love his soul and his life. Said that when a person is feeling weak, he desperately wants for his soul to become more present in his body, so he can feel stronger. When a person goes to bed at night, he very much wants to wake up the next morning, be alive. We all want to, we love our life, we love our soul. So when we realize that our true life and our true soul is the Almighty. So Cain, as Hashem, so a person will love Hashem, Kashi Yisbein, when he contemplates, he takes the heart. He Hashem who nafshe, that Hashem is his true soul. The Chayav Mamish, literally his life. Discussed in the first section of that. It says in the Zohar, the pasuk says, "Nafshi ivisicha." The way we commonly translate it, "Nafshi ivisicha," my soul desires you. But on a grammatical level, the correct way to say "my soul desires you" would be "Nafshi ivsicha." Ivisicha means my soul I desire, which is grammatically incorrect. If you're talking about my soul, you're talking in third person. So you have to say, my soul desires you. What does it mean? Nafshi ivi sicha, my soul, I desire you. So the Zohar says, my soul is a way of referring to Hashem. Hashem is my soul. He's the one who provides me with life. He's my true soul. So I'm calling out to Hashem and saying, Nafshi, my soul, ivi sicha, I love you, I desire you. Why do I desire you? Because I realize that you are my soul, you are my life. And just like it's natural for every person to desire life, it's natural for someone who realizes that Hashem is his life to love Hashem. So that is considered derech klal in a general sense, just to be aware of the fact that Hashem is your life. And just like it's natural to love life, it's natural to love Hashem. Hein derech prat, and also the more specific one. When a person will understand and delve in intellectually in the greatness of the King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be He, that is in a more detailed way. According to how much he can tolerate in his understanding, and that which is above his understanding. Because generally, we relate to things intellectually in two ways. We relate to things intellectually in a positive way, and in a, let me explain. Sometimes you attend a shiur, and everything was explained, tremendous clarity, and you all made so much sense. It all fitted right in. And it's so clear to you that you can go over, you can say it over to someone, and it's inspiring. Sometimes you attend a shiur, and you hear matter discussed, and you feel that it's above your ability to comprehend. But the fact that you realize that what is being discussed is so incredible, you get that it's beyond your comprehension because it's so incredible. So that itself is a very inspiring experience, sometimes even more inspiring than comprehending. So there's relating to Hashem's greatness on the level that you can comprehend, and then there's relating to that element of his greatness that is beyond our comprehension. Both are a component in inspiring you to be fascinated by Hashem's greatness. And then after you get it, after the penny drops, as they say, you realize how great and how phenomenal is the greatness of the Almighty. And then you take that a step further, and you think to yourself, the Avas Hashem HaGedolah VaNiflo Eleinu, that Hashem's great and wondrous love to us. Later, Mitzrayim Eretz Haaretz, and Hashem Himself, His entire greatness, descended to Mitzrayim, which is the most decadent place on earth. L'hoitzi nishmeiseinu, to extract our souls, Bikur habarzo, from the iron crucible, to Asitra Achre, which is the forces of evil that dominated in Egypt, Rahman al-Islam. And the Almighty Himself came down into the decadent, horrible, evil place of Egypt and took us out of there. L'karveinu elav, to draw us near to Him. L'dabkeinu b'shmei, and to cause us to plead b'shmei mamish, literally to His name. L'hu b'shmei echad, and He and His name are one. The Hainu, which means Shenei Mimanu mitachlis hashiflos, He lifted us up from ultimate lowliness. Moving on to the next page. Vehatuma, and ultimate impurity. L'tachlis hagdusha, and He took us from ultimate lowliness and ultimate impurity. He took us and lifted us up to the ultimate holiness. Ugdulasa yizbarach, and the greatness of Hashem, blessed be He, she'ein maketz v'tachlis, which is absolutely infinite. So He took us from the most horrible place, lifted us up, and brought us to become one with His essence, which is absolutely infinite. So when you think about how much Hashem loves us, that Hashem, who is so great and so infinite, contracted Himself to come down to the lowest place and slap us out of it, and bring us to unite with Him and cleave to Him at the deepest and most intense level. So you realize how great Hashem's love to us. Azai kamayim apanim apanim, just like when you look into the water, whatever face you show into the water shows the reciprocal face back to you. Similarly, when it says, the pasuk says, kamayim apanim apanim, the way the water, the face is to water, that's the way man's heart is to man. And the explanation is, just like when you look into water, whichever face you show into water, that's the face that reflects back to you. Similarly, when you have a certain feeling towards another person, the way you feel about the other person will cause that person to have a reciprocal feeling to you. So if you think in a loving way about another person, it will cause the other person to think in a loving way about you. So in this case, the Adam is the Almighty, Adam Ha'elyon, and there's the Adam down here. So when we realize how much Hashem loves us, and the natural thing is that when you realize how much someone loves you, it causes you to love them back. So contemplating on Hashem's greatness, and how despite His greatness, He comes down to us, pulls us out of the situation that we find ourselves, schleps us out, and lifts us up, and makes us one with Him. So like water reflects the face that's shown into it, the love will be aroused in the heart of every intellectual person whom is vain in his head and contemplates on this subject, in the depth of his heart. Lev is Hashem, to love Hashem, Ava Azah, with a fierce love, L'davka b'lev and nefesh, and to cleave to Him with our heart and soul, as will be explained in its place at length. Now, what does it mean as will be explained in its place? So generally speaking, this is a reference to some of the things that we discussed in the first section of it. That's the place where He talks about how to come to love Hashem. So in the first section of Tanya, He spoke about the love of Hashem and all the different methods that there are to come to love Hashem. So Kamesh's Garmin came about Arichis most likely refers to what was discussed in the first section of Tanya. However, if that's the case, why does it say, as it will be discussed? This is the second section of Tanya. First, you study the first section, and then the second section. It didn't say, as was discussed in its place. So the answer to this is that when the Alter Rebbe wrote the Tanya, he wrote both sections. He wrote the Likutei Amarim, and he wrote the Sha'ar Yichud B'Amunah. His original plan was that the Sha'ar Yichud B'Amunah should be the first volume, and the Likutei Amarim should be the second volume. Even when he ultimately changed his mind and decided that first section should be the Likutei Amarim and the second section should be Sha'ar Yichud B'Amunah, he did not change what he wrote in the introduction to Sha'ar Yichud B'Amunah, because he wanted us to know that originally that was. So even though he had reasons for changing and making Likutei Amarim the first section, we should know that there is a perspective from which Sha'ar Yichud B'Amunah is so basic that before you can even start Tanya, you have to have a basic ground, fundamental understanding of this concept of the oneness of Hashem that is discussed in this section. Inyan Avazu, that's a Moshe Rabbeinu Lashon, Lita B'lev Kol Yisrael, with Parshas V'ata Yisrael. So we asked, I believe we learned this last week, we asked that it says, Asher Anechem Mitzvah Estem La'asoisa. Moshe Rabbeinu said about the love of Hashem, I'm commanding you this day, La'asoisa, to do it. And we asked the question, what kind of to do is pertinent when you're talking about love of Hashem? Love of Hashem is not something you do. Love of Hashem is something you either have or you don't have. Very little you could do. So when we're talking about the first level of love, the love that comes spontaneously to the tzaddik because he's in touch with his neshama, you're right. Nothing you can do about it. Either you are in touch or you're not in touch. Either you've merited that level of purity and being divested of the physical so that your neshama can shine forth, and you feel that incredible longing and an incredible delight that comes naturally in your relationship with Him. Or you're too caught up with the material side of your existence. You haven't done enough Torah and mitzvahs, and you don't feel it. There's nothing you can do to change that. I mean, you can try and find yourself more and learn more Torah, more mitzvahs, but at what point is it going to automatically happen? It has to come from, it has to be given to you. It's not something that you can force it. However, the second level of love is something, there's a formula. Learn about the greatness of Hashem. Contemplate on the greatness of Hashem. Learn about how much Hashem loves you. Contemplate on how much He loves you. Learn about the fact that He is your life. And He is your Father, as we discussed in the first section of time. Contemplate on the fact that He is your life, He is your Father. And all these things will help you reach a certain appreciation of love of Hashem. So there is a la'asoisa, there is something you can do about it. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu had in mind when he said to the Jewish people in Parshas Akin. He said, Ata Yisrael, the pasuk, Hein Lashem Elokecha Hashamayim V'Gemer. Talking to the Jewish people and saying, the heavens and all there is therein belongs to Hashem. Nevertheless, Hashem has left all of it behind. All the angels and the celestial beings that exist in heaven, He's left them all behind. And He's only desired your forefathers, the Jewish people. And therefore you should circumcise the foreskin of your heart. The Shivim Nefesh V'Gemer, he talks about the fact that the Jewish people descended to Egypt 70 souls, and look how Hashem has made you now such a great nation. Beha'alotcha V'Gemer, all this contemplation will lead to coming to love Hashem. So since there is something you can do about it, therefore he concludes his words in reference to this love, that I am commanding you to do it. Because this is a love that can be generated in the heart by understanding and contemplating in matters that arouse love. In reference to this, he already told us in the Shema that these words which I am commanding you today shall be upon your heart. In other words, you should take these words, place them in your heart by contemplating them, and they will have the correct effect on you. In order that this will lead you to the love of Hashem. Like the Sifri explains this pasuk. Take the words that I have commanded you, place them on your heart, contemplate on them, and this will cause you to love Hashem. So the question that we asked at the beginning, how could you use la'asoisa? How can you use doing in connection with love? Love is not about doing. The answer is, depends which level of love you're talking about. If you're talking about the level of love which is reserved only for unique tzaddikim, which is a spontaneous expression of the neshama, you're right, you can't do anything about it. You either have it or you don't have it. You're either in touch with it or you're not in touch with it. And the only thing you can do is try to refine yourself more, try to study more Torah, try to do more mitzvahs, reach a higher madrega, but you're not guaranteed that that's going to put you in touch with your neshama at the level that you're actually going to experience this love of Hashem. This is a gift from Hashem, which tzaddikim merit, and if you're not on that level, you probably won't merit. But there's a lower level of love, which is accessible to everyone. And there's a formula how to get to it. There's a system. Contemplate on this and this and this and this, and you will get there. So therefore, the word la'asoisa does apply on that. So these are the two generally speaking levels of love: the higher love, the lower love. The higher love is the love that comes to great tzaddikim spontaneously, and that is an incredibly overwhelming love. And there is the lower love, which is available to everyone, through understanding the greatness of Hashem, contemplating on the greatness of Hashem, through understanding that Hashem is our life and our Father, and contemplating on those realities. And this will bring to a person a greater appreciation and a greater love for Hashem. So when we said Chanoich Lenar al Pi Darkei Gam Ki Yazkin Lo Yasser Mimenu, Chinuch starts with the lower level. So you're going to take a beginner in Avodas Hashem, someone starting in the service of Hashem. Where are you going to start from? Obviously, you're going to start from the lower level. But the question might be asked, since you have great aspirations and you hope that this person is going to reach the higher level, aren't you wasting his time at the lower level since he's going to ultimately reach the higher level? Won't need the lower level. So the Alter Rebbe is going to explain why even someone at the very highest level will still need the lower level as a backup in all circumstances. That we will learn in Mitzvah Hashem. Any questions? Of course. Right. Nafshi ivi sicha as opposed to iv sicha. Interesting. If something is personal, it doesn't have to make sense. It's just not felt first. Okay, very good. Everyone, tremendous Hatzlah. Sorry? Yeah, Mitzvah Hashem. My nephew got married Monday. Rough nephew. Son is an engagement.